I realize I've been living in form. You're chasing the job, the money, the partner. But when you really honed on to the essence, that was really an aha moment. And when you're living in your essence, that's when you attract the form.
Welcome to the second Empower Hour. We are happy to be back. Today's episode is going to be about elevating our frequencies, which I say is a good thing as we're moving towards 2027 and in the process, feeling into how we are being our designs versus doing our designs. Fascinating. Actually, I had 2 emails in my email box this morning from international human design people around this same topic of being our design versus doing our design. And so I'm excited to be able to introduce everyone to a concept called essence versus form. It's a concept, and I'm going to say a distinction that I was introduced to many moons ago that brings this clear experiential distinction between creating life, love, and work that resonate in our heart of hearts from our heart's desire to feel something versus how we have been trained to create forms and things and situations in our life because we think they're bringing us some sense of safety, security, certainty, value. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking about that and we're going to go through some exercises. But typical of me, I have a good setup that I like to do, so I may talk for a little bit. For those who don't know me, my name is Tuck, and for those of you who do, it is still Tuck. I am the founder, as you see here, of Self Empowerment Resources. And since 2003, and maybe even a little before, I've been coaching and consulting with individuals and organizations around personal growth, spiritual growth, transformation. I have said frequently I am a personal growth enthusiast. My work, the work that I do, is grounded in the human design and the BG5 systems, both powerful systems for awareness, being ourselves, and topic of the day, obviously, elevating our frequency. Currently, I am semi retired. That is how I have created my life, my love, and my work. I work because I choose to, and what it is that I choose to do is share my love for the BG5 system as a consultant and as an instructor of the foundation and the certification courses. So I am happy to be here to hopefully share a little inspiration and a couple of nuggets of wisdom. And I am here with one of my favorite people in the world, Latia Few, who went through 5 semesters with me, as a class member and then again as an assistant. She is one of the most extraordinary individuals I have ever met. What she is up to in the world in terms of working with partnerships, young individuals, is to be noticed. And so I'll hand it over to you and let you say what you would like to say about yourself, Latia.
Sure. Hey, everyone. Welcome to our second episode. As Tuck said, I started as one of her BG5 students. I became a BG5 consultant a couple of years ago. And now I am the founder of Unmasked by Design, inspired by human design, BG5, where I love to take different themes of your life and turn them into these neat interactive guides and reports. I also coach around the human design and BG5 system. I'm an agile project manager by trade. And I would also like to announce that I submitted my 2-week resignation letter today to my full-time job. So I am a full-time business owner as of today. So welcome everybody. I'm excited for what's ahead and I'm excited for what Tuck and I are doing.
That's so good. Congratulations and congratulations and congratulations. It's going to be fun to see where you go next and how you expand. And so, like I said, you all, I like to do a little setup. So we're going to start the podcast conversation with a little bit of background in terms of the origin of this work, meaning human design and BG5, which I know you're familiar with, as well as Ra's purpose, and I'm going to say our purpose for utilizing the transformative power of these systems for ourselves and our clients. So, human design, as we all know, was originated by Ra back in 1992, where he shared that he had this mystical experience with what he called the voice. And he said the voice gave him information about the human design system, how the universe operates, which we really need to know now, as well as information on what we in design call the rave. But most importantly, he received information, as you see here, that's focused on you being you, not doing you, but you being you. He says, do not pretend that you are alive, be alive and be here. And so, again, I feel like we're all familiar with the incredible transformative power of the system of knowledge. Each of us know that we are provided with our own map, what we're going to call energy signature, energy frequency, since we're talking about frequency for self awareness, again, personal growth, and again, the word that we continue to use with our podcast, empowerment. Incredible tool for empowerment. And so, Ross spent his life sharing this work with individuals, and along the way, realized that not every individual was available to receive the power of this system. And I say the frequency, the system itself, everything is a frequency. Maybe individuals weren't at a level to accept the frequency of the information, knowing that each and every one of us operate at a specific level of vibration. He felt that need to come up with a practical everyday solution. He's a 5-1, like Latia and I are both. And so the solution became the application of the human design system to the world of career and business and material success. And so he established the BG5 Institute to be the official source, I like to say resource as well, for translating our spiritual design into material success, which certainly makes sense. We are spiritual beings who have come to this planet to have a human experience. And so, again, to remind us to go from doing to being is really important. And so, while human design is this very powerful system for, understanding who we are, moving into self-acceptance, I know we talk about self-love a lot. It's also a powerful system for expanding our awareness and, again, up-leveling our frequency. In speaking to this era of individuality that we are fast approaching in 2027, Ra also emphasized the importance of us expanding our awareness, expanding our consciousness, observing and moving away from this collective conditioning of the mind so that each and every one of us, and you will hear me get really passionate about this to the point where I might even be yelling, so that each of us would have this full experience of being present to ourselves, being present to and with one another, and living this emotionally fulfilling life in the eternal present moment. I said on the last podcast when Latia and I were there, the only place that magic and manifestation can ever occur is in the present moment versus where the not self, the ego lives, which is in some regretted past or avoided, fretted against future. And so, in speaking to frequency, before we move on to our exercises, I'm going to do a little shameless self promotion, but it's not self promotion, it's BG5 emotion. We're talking about frequency. And as we're talking about frequency today, to keep in mind, we have 4 maps in the BG5 methodology that come with this understanding of an underlying frequency. And there's this invisible mechanism that we live in. We are like fish swimming around in water in the ocean, and that ocean conditions us, it homogenizes us. And our work again is to become aware of this frequency, of this invisible mechanism and expand our capacity, as Ross said on the previous slide, to relate with awareness to that frequency so that we can start tribing as we're moving towards 2027 in ways where we have this shared group consciousness versus living like, I'm going to say sheeples, where we're living under the collective conditioning of the not self world. And so he even says it's part of our potential to be able to be cognitive in ways that are not yet understood by the mind. I'm not sure that they'll ever be understood by the mind. And he says it is within us, it's within our form, and it's a part of what our future will be. And so I have long said over these years, our designs are chock full of a plethora of information that can take an individual down the rabbit hole and keep us in our mind with the information, but they're more than systems designed to tell us who we are, maybe make us feel safe or predict what we think are possibilities for our future. That's us doing the design. These systems and these four maps, they're powerful structures and mechanisms for practicing presence, which is a really big deal. Why is practicing presence important? Because Thich Nhat Hanh says that it is. Thich says that your true home is in the here and now, in the present moment, where we are aware of this frequency. And so, just from my experience with clients and myself over the years, if we're seeking to live an empowered life and elevate our frequency so that we can create the life of our dreams and do that with joy and ease, I'll raise my hand, versus effort and struggle. I'm going to channel my mother. She would say, it would behoove you to have an awareness of what this frequency is, to be present to this vibration, and not just present to it, but the power that comes with living that frequency in the now. So, our state of being, your state of being, your frequency is everything, right? How you hold your energy, how I hold my power and my energy, my vibration, my frequency is everything in terms of what I'm going to attract into my life, what's possible for me. And it will also determine how I'm experiencing my life. And so, as you see here, frequency represents your energetic vibration. We call it your energy signature. I like to look at my design and call it my energy signature. It reflects our level of conscious awareness. And so, looking at my design, how I emit my energy, the energy of my thoughts and my feelings and my emotions, is going to determine my vibrational set point. And I am a lover of Abraham Hicks, who says, when it comes to your vibrational set point, like attracts like. And I think we've all also heard, y'all, as within, so without, and vice versa. And so, if you love your life where it is, if you have all that you desire in your life, if you're living from joy, creativity, and ease, I would say hoo ha, give you a hoo ha, and say congratulations. You are attracting, you are living that internal state of creativity, you are living that internal state of ease. And not only is that what's going to be your experience internally, you will attract that externally as well. Dr. Joe Dispenza has that distinction where he says we can choose to live in the land of survival, creating the same thing over and over again, knowing that God doesn't create in the land of the familiar, or you can do what we're going to practice today and live in that land of creativity, which is going to allow us to attract all of the things that we desire. If you don't, see, Latia came to the conclusion that she did not like her job as it was and had the courage to step out and take a leap of faith. If you're seeking, more life, love, and work, again, that resonate with your heart and soul, and this isn't the experience of your life, then you're probably living in the land of survival. You'll probably want to up level your vibration and frequency and expand your awareness. And what's probably happening is that you're doing your design versus being your design. And again, it's important to get that the only place, you all, that we can ever identify the not self issues, conquer our fears, open up and manifest our dreams and observe our life where it is in the eternal present moment. As Eckhart Tolle said, your power is in the now. Ram Dass said, be here now. Everybody, these gurus that came before us, they have all said the same thing. Tick says it again. The present moment is the only moment available to you, and it is the door to all of your moments. But there, we got to know what it feels like to be in the present moment, because to me, that's an experience that one has to identify and get used to. And so, if you're seeking to change your frequency, your reality, your power to do that's going to be in the now, not in the past where we're regretting what we've done and where we've been or projecting something into the future. The only empowered place where life can be lived is in the now. And so, Ra actually said, being awake and present, he defined it not as a spiritual state, but a mechanical one. And he said, being awake is being aware in the form. And the whole thing about that is you cannot be aware in the form unless you accept the form. I have shared with many of my friends and colleagues that I have an extraordinary mentor, Dr. Carol McCall, who wrote this book, I Know You Hear Me, Are You Listening? And one of her quotes says, in the moment of acceptance, you are in being. And again, that's what we're talking about, is how do we know we're in being in the present moment. So we're going to talk about this distinction that I have mentioned between essence and form. And as we do, we're going to start by talking about you. I'm pointing, and my mother said that was so rude. We're going to talk about you as a form. You are a form of energy, a structure of energy. You know, we looked at this on the podcast last month. Einstein brilliantly said, concerning matter, we have been all wrong. What we call matter, form, the body, it's energy. Energy whose vibration has been so lowered as to be perceptible to the senses. I think we talked about the propeller on an airplane. And when it's still, you see the blades, but once it starts spinning, you don't see it. We're same, right? And so matter is spirit reduced to the point of visibility. He said, there is no matter. So you, me, Latia, Sarah, all of us, we are whirling masses of energy whose vibrations have been so lowered that we can actually see one another. We're perceptible to the senses. The body we see as you is really this whirling pattern of vibrational energy. And so your BG5 design represents this same form of you, the structure of you, your energy signature, and it's chocked full of a plethora of information about you, but none of that form is going to matter. Thought that was very catchy for me to say. None of that form is going to matter if we aren't living in the present moment. You are so much more than your structure, than your form, than who you are as matter, as a spiritual being having a human experience in this form. Your design, again, it represents and is filled with what I call the essence of you, the essence of who you are. This essence has formed itself. So you have this vibrational essence that has slowed down and coalesced itself into this form called your body graph, your essence. It is informing your body. So your design represents you as essence informed. And I actually love that. So when you're learning about your traits and your strengths and your functions, this is the resulting matter and expression of you. The juice, the beauty, the power, the freedom, the fun of you, that comes with your essence, being the essence flowing through your form unimpeded. You know, in our foundation courses, we learn about circuitry. We've got our thematics, general thematics and circuitry, and we talk about how that circuitry needs to have the freedom to be flowing unimpeded through our designs. You are here to be and express the essence of you in form unimpeded. You are here to flow freely. You're not here to do your form. You're not here to think your form. You're not here to experience the resistance of the mind and the not self when it wants to be in charge. You are here to flow freely again as the essence of who you are, unimpeded through your form. So, first off, you are a form as well, expressing the essence of you. But we're here to talk about how to create the life of your dreams. So, we're going to look at form externally. We're going to talk about how we create forms and things in our life. How do we create the things that we're seeking? We really do seek to have these forms and things in our life because on some level, we know from experience that they're going to make us feel a certain way. That in having this thing, we're finally going to feel safe and secure and valued and loved and good enough, all of those things. And so we become attached to having these forms. We are driven to seek these things and these forms because, again, we believe that they're going to bring us the feeling experience. And we've got it friggin' backwards. We're going to look at how that happens today. So again, your form, think about it, could be a house, could be a car. Latia came to my house in an extraordinary car this past weekend. It could be a soulmate, it could be a job. One of the biggest forms that we are driven to seek is money. But what's important for us to get is that it's the mind and the not self that is focusing on the form. When our minds focus on the form, what it's trying to control the future. It's trying to quell whatever our fears are because it believes that by creating these forms, we're going to be safe, secure, certain, have some sense of power and control over people and situations. Ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen because in seeking these forms, you all, mine is in charge. And all mine is doing is medicating. It's like a drug. It's medicating our fears. And that is only going to create more effort and struggle. And I do not want to live my life from effort and struggle. So it's important to get that forms and structures can be limiting. So we want to hold them lightly. You're going to find that when you go to create your forms, that for the most part, you really are doing it from your neediness and your fear. We did a lot of that in the last podcast, looking at our fears and judgments. We're creating from the desires of the not self and the ego and what we in design call our undefined functions. We're going to find that we become attached to these forms. We got to have the specific forms. This is not going to do anything to quell our fears. It will certainly not bring you essence. And if we're looking at the topic of why we're here, it's certainly not going to up level our frequency and vibration because the foundation of the desire, it's not pure. It's not coming from love. It's not coming from our hearts. It's coming from our issues. It's coming from our fears. And again, all of the things that we think we are going to avoid by having this thing. Now, there's a happy ending to every story. People like to talk about my happy ending. And the happy ending to our story today, you all, is essence. So we're going to talk about essence. If you look essence up in the dictionary, it says it talks about the real basic nature of something. I think I looked it up in thesaurus and it said individuality, origin, abundance of spirit was how the thesaurus talked about essence, which I think is key moving towards 2027. But essence, in contrast to form, is the feeling experience that we're seeking from having these things that we mentioned, like the soulmate, the job, the house, the car, the family, work. She was looking for work that she loved, right? The essence of that. Essence is the purity that comes from the desires of our heart. And more importantly, and this is key, you all, essence is the language of our hearts. Essence is how spirit and the universe, and I'll use the word God, knows what we're asking for and knows what to bring. A spirit has no idea how to respond to form. Spirit does not understand car. Spirit understands adventure, right? So there's a difference there. Spirit responds to how you feel in your heart of hearts when you're desiring something or you already have something in your life. So I get really loud when I'm passionate about something. Sometimes I think I'm even yelling, but I'm passionate about this form versus essence thing because in 2001 I was introduced to this concept and it changed my life forever. I'm going to trust as you go through the exercises that it will have an impact on yours as well. I was working in a network marketing company. I was at a leadership meeting in Maui, and I was in the front of the room with my vision board. We all had to do a vision board, and somebody raised their hand and said, Tuck, your vision board is wrong. You do not have any pictures. Go home and do it again. And I was embarrassed, went home and talked to my tribe, my mentors, Spotted Eagle, Grandfather White Elk, and White Buffalo, and they said, Tuck, you are ahead of the curve because you are focusing on essence, and they're wanting you to focus on the form of being a royal diamond, making a seven-figure business, getting your, organization built. You are focusing on essence. And so they asked me, are you still getting that essence experience from this business? Or has the dream for being in this business and the essence that it used to bring you moved on? And as my builder gut said, it has moved on. And so I allowed myself to move forward and seek essence experiences in other places. So, what they encouraged me to do is what you're going to do today. And that is, you're going to choose 5 to 6 essence words. I think Latia has chosen 13 so far that describe, because it feels good, doesn't it? Feeling experiences that you have when you are doing what you love to do, when you are so in the flow that you lose all track of time. I know Latia and I talked about that this weekend. We're both athletes. When I'm in the midst of playing basketball or tennis, I'm not thinking. I am so in the flow. I love it. And I have the essence experiences of connection and contribution and partnership. So it's that feeling of childlike wonder and awe where you really are so immersed in the beauty of the moment that you really do feel like you've been touched by the face of God. That's essence, and that's an essence experience. The example that I have used for years, Chariots of Fire, I don't know if y'all saw that movie years ago, but it was about the Olympic runner from the UK. And someone said, why are you spending your life running? And his simple response was, when I run, I feel God's pleasure. That to me, see, even get chills saying it, is the experience of essence. And so that day I chose freedom, fun, spiritual community, connection, contribution, and flow. And from that day until now, I don't do anything. I don't say to anything. Doesn't bring me that experience. And with my undefined survival instinct function, my undefined willpower function, what inspiration and conceptualization, things are easy. I know when to let go of what no longer serves and to hold on to what does. So, in summary, when you focus on essence, know that it is going to take you to places that petty tyrant of the little mind, not self that you have will never go. You're going to enter the field of all possibility. I love to say you're going to open the door and dance with the Creator. You will be exposed to limitless possibilities for forms that, again, are going to come to you in ways that your mind couldn't even fathom. Forms limit the outcome that the Creator can bring into your life. So if you want to know the truth of what you desire in your life, essence is what's going to clarify that for you in your heart of hearts. It will bypass your mind, and you're going to speak straight from your heart to the universe in terms of what you desire. And so, one more little slide before we get to our worksheets. Perk your ears up and listen, because I'm telling you, this tribe is brilliant. Spotted Eagle and Grandfather White Elk have this to say about essence. It doesn't require anything of you. Remember, we don't need to do anything. Nothing has to happen, because essence is the feeling experience that we're seeking, that we desire, and it's expansive and it clarifies in our hearts of hearts what it is that we are desiring. Essences are powerful because they are the language of your soul, the desires of your spirit. Essence is going to take you, as I said, to places that your mind can't go. Our minds speak to us in urges and appetites and attachments, not our souls. They speak to us from the desires of our heart. I love this image here. So when you seek essence and you create from the desire to have that, that is when you invite the creator into the process to co-create with you, and you ask that divine spontaneity assist you in birthing essence into myriads of form. I can't tell you how many things have come into my life as forms that I couldn't have even thought to ask for because I know my six essence words that I immerse myself in daily. When you seek essence, you invite the creator to be open, spontaneous, playful, joyful with you and to dance with you in the field of all possibility. Who the frig would not want to live a life like that? And so in speaking about frequency and vibration, essence is that frequency and essence is that vibration that comes thundering out of our hearts, creating this vibrational set point that's going to attract any and all forms into our lives that resonate with our heart and our soul. That is how to live from the abundance of our spirit, you all, as we're going towards 2027. You don't have to focus on form ever again. In fact, you really don't even have to set a goal. You don't have to be attached to that goal, run after that goal. Simply choose your essence words for the experiences that you desire to have in your life. And we're going to talk about immersing your time and your talents and your energies in those things every day. And so I'm going to pose the same question to you that Spotted Eagle asked me back in 2003. He said, Tuck, do you want to create and continue creating your life from effort and struggle, forcing the form, pushing the proverbial rock uphill from effort and struggle, exhausted, burnout, puffing air, living from the not self, doing the same thing over and over again? See how sad that sounds? Or do you want to live a life of joy, creativity, and ease from your beingness? A life of essence where the door is thrown open for you to dance spontaneously with the Creator from your authentic self, where you feel the flow and you can fly anywhere you want to with an absolute sense of freedom. He says, Spotted Eagle says, we all know how to create through hard work and struggle. Y'all, we've been doing it for years. I know I've been conditioned to work from effort and struggle, to work hard, forcing the form. He says the art, and I say the art of life, it's in creating a flow of resources that are going to bring you great joy, fulfillment, and a tangible sense of your place in the universe. So it's time to do our work. Latia, are there any questions? Are there any comments? Anything you want to add before we go to work?
I personally had a question when you talked about the difference between doing your design and being your design. Can you just give us one example on what it looks like when you're doing your design versus when you're being your design?
Yeah, thinking. There is going to be a quote here. When we're thinking anything, so I think I'm expressing my 1222. I'm thinking that I am um, let's just say I'm looking thinking about the definition, or even me as a messenger authority, when I'm thinking about doing that, I'm not present, because anytime I'm thinking, I'm in the not self. The ego is
Mm,
the one driving the behavior. There is, I mean, I'm clear that if we all get in touch with what that moment feels like, where we're not thinking, like you are an athlete, you have played basketball, right?
mm-hmm. Yep.
That's different than you going, okay, 58-18. That's the logical understanding. We think that we've got to be the design versus, I mean, do the design versus just allowing the door to open. Ra's analogy of the car and the passenger and the back seat and the driver, I think
Mm-hmm.
a great example of this. If we think of the car as the essence and the form, and let's say the driver is our heart, we're going to put the mind in the back seat of the friggin' car, roll the window down, and enjoy the ride.
Right.
It's not I don't know if that's a definite answer, but does that
No,
help?
that makes sense. That
Okay,
makes sense.
perfect. Anything else before we go to work?
Nothing else.
Okay. All right. I'm assuming that we have our little worksheets because to me, to go through the experience of doing this over and over and over again is what's going to change our vibration, change our frequency. And it does require a lot of freedom and willingness to allow ourselves to dream and to dream big based on all the conditioning that we've been through. So I want everybody to choose a couple of, think of something that you want in your life. Latia, for you, it could be a job. Let's just say you were looking for additional work, a job, a new career, right? That would be a form. Um, some people might want a soulmate. Some people might want a new home. I know I did at one point in time when I said I don't want to live in my house anymore. And I moved in with my son with no idea where I was going to go next. I just knew I needed a home. So choose something that you want as a form. But most importantly, we're going to be asking ourselves, why do we want that particular form? What is it? What's the orientation? What's the come from in wanting that form? Do we want it because we think it's going to quell some fear that we have, make us feel more secure about where we're going in the future? So in my case, we don't run out of money, right? I got to know what it is right now and tight as a tick, have some sense of control. There is no certainty and there is no security. It's just the mind makes us think that there is. And so, do we want this form because we think it's going to bring us safety, security, certainty, value, make me feel loved, make me feel smart, make me feel better than who I think I already am? You know, am I looking to quell some fear about moving into the future? If this is the orientation, we will never have the experience of essence because the come from is fear, the come from is judgment. And when this is the focus, we're in those holes from the last podcast, Latia. Remember the holes that were in the boundary? We're operating from the holes in the boundary and we're not present to our power in the present moment. The mind is lost in fear. We've closed the door on the creator. We're creating from that matrix wall from last podcast, from those feelings, from those thoughts, from those. And I can promise you that is not high frequency. That is low frequency. We're living from the not self. Again, we're thinking. We're not being, we're thinking, and we're in the land of survival. And as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, God does not create in the land of the familiar. We've got to let go, be in acceptance, as Ross said, and open the door to the Creator so that we can dance. And so, if you have this list of words, I don't know if you have it printed out somewhere. I think Sarah put a different list of words. And you may have an essence word that isn't on this list. Search the list of words on that sheet and ask yourself, is this form that I just wrote down or this form that I'm considering that I want, will it bring me any one of these essence words? And as you're looking through the words, you're going to feel it in your body. You're going to feel it in your heart. We all know what resistance feels like. We talk a lot about that in our foundation classes, that we're seeking to identify the resistance. We don't want our flow to be impeded. We want to flow freely through our design. So look through these high frequency words and experiences because these are the words, the experiences that are going to keep you in the present moment. And so I have two examples that came from Spotted Eagle. Typically, and I know I've done this before, when people are seeking a partner and or a soulmate, particularly a partner, they'll go for the physical attributes, right? Got to be good looking. In my case, got to have a head of hair. And then we go to income levels. He's got to have a job. She needs to be self-sufficient. Does that person want kids? Do they not want kids? That is us focusing on the form. What we're really looking for is unconditional love and harmony and balance and partnership and spiritual community, but we don't think. that way, right? We're attached to the form. Simple example. Let's say you have a brand new house and you want your own chair. I know we were looking for a chair for Larry when we bought this house. And if you're focused on the form, you're going to go look for the right color of chair to go with everything else in your house. So you're looking, at the form of the chair versus the experience. You get your chair, it matches everything in your house, but you get home and you sit in it and it is friggin' uncomfortable. Hurts your back, can't eat in it because you don't want to mess it up. And then typically the way that we do with, wanting forms in our life, we'll even think, I can't have it. It's too big for me. And so you might not even get up out of the chair that you have that day to go look for a new chair because you don't think you deserve it when your neighbor might be having a garage sale with the perfect chair. And so it's crazy the way our minds hoodwink us. So have fun with this worksheet. Explore what your orientation is and ask, am I coming from my neediness, my security, my need to control or dominate this situation? And start practicing approaching these forms from the desire to experience essence. Again, as a builder, when I get something to respond to, I will ask myself, is this going to bring me freedom, fulfillment, fun, spiritual community? And I go, uh-huh and uh-uh. So I use my decision-making strategy to identify essence. For you, Latia, you could do it. You could say, am I being seen for my essence? And when you are recognized and invited, then you can lead and guide and experience more of that, right? With our initiators, they're also moved into action to inform. So they can ask themselves the same question about essence. And then for our evaluators, it's the essence that they're seeking environmentally. Remember, they're good in environments. So we can apply our career types to how we utilize form and essence. So, any questions about that before we take this up another level? Are we good?
We are good.
So I always say this is where the rubber meets the road. This tribe taught me how to create my life in 2003. And I'm telling you, I really do live the life of my dreams right now. And it's because I know when I get stuck and I'm in resistance and I'm struggling, and in my case, when I'm frustrated as a builder, to go back to essence versus, am I trying to fix a form? That's a big one with me. Am I trying to fix some form versus living in the experience of essence? And so you're going to choose five or six essence words from that list that make your heart sing. 6 words that describe the feeling experience that has you feel like you've been touched by the face of God. You've lost track of time. You're in the zone. Athletes, that's a big one. The reason they're so good is that they are lost in the zone. They are living an essence experience of whatever that athletic structure is bringing them. So it's really going to be important for you to give yourself the time and the space to feel into your essence words. For each of the words that you come up with as your essence words, search your life where it is today and ask yourself, am I already seeking that essence from this current form? Because I think some of us will find we already have forms in our life where we are experiencing essence. And sometimes the mind says, you can't do that because you're not going to make any money, right? The mind comes in and talks us out of that particular essence. So know that your mind is going to try to tell you that essence is the result of having, form, and that form is the most important thing. But the reverse is true. We want to go for essence. Any form that brings us satisfaction, success, peace, and delight, it's always going to be the byproduct of an essence experience. And when people come to you, because they will, and they ask you what it is that you want, and you don't give them a list of forms, because this has happened to me with coaches, it happened to me in Maui, they're going to tell you that you don't know what you're talking about, that you need to pick that car, that house, that seven-figure business. They're going to push a form on you and tell you that you're confused. Do not accept their reality. Being kind of bossy. Recognize that not focusing on the form, y'all, that's the high vibe state that we're looking for, because it means that you are speaking to spirit in the language that it speaks. Essence is the language of your soul. If all you knew in your life was the essence of what you wanted to create, you would live every day with the door completely open to play in the field of all possibility with the Creator and allow the Creator to surprise you. We're so busy telling the Creator what we want. Isn't it fun to be surprised and to have something come to you that you didn't even know you wanted? That's the beauty of how this can work. So you're then going to go to your third column. And now, once you've looked at the current forms that you already have, you're going to open your heart, your mind, and your soul to all of the forms that you desire, that you might attract into your life, that can bring you more of these essence experiences. It takes courage. Be brave to open our hearts, but I'm telling you, it will change your life. And as you begin, this is the way life works, as you begin to see forms that you already have, or you see these forms coming to you because you're doing this exercise, your mind is going to get out of the way and your heart is going to open and you are going to enter the flow of life. You're going to be in the flow of essence. In fact, you will be the flow, as many people say. You will be that flow of essence, and you will have this experience of sim frigging plicity. Like I am all about simplicity that comes with the elevation of our frequency. You all, once you're clear on your essence words, what you want those experiences to be, this is your litmus test. These are your directions. Number one, this is the simplicity of it. State your desire for that essence. And it is simple as saying every day when you get up or every night, my desire for life, love, work, soulmate, whatever it is to experience freedom, fun, and these are mine, spiritual community, connection, contribution, and flow. Notice how that feels in your body, knowing that holding this vibration, this essence, it is the most authentic thought that you will ever hold, and what you desire as essence, it's already a part of who you are. We just looked at our BG5 design. It's already part of the essence of who you are. This is the frequency when you tell the universe what it is that you desire in your heart of hearts. This is the frequency that comes thundering out of your hearts and it reverberates. We saw it on that little graphic a minute ago with the heart. It will reverberate, comes thundering out of your hearts, moves into any and all dimensions. And this is what's going to become your vibrational set point so that the universe knows exactly what to bring into your life. Simple, powerful insight to understand your heart knows what it wants. Your heart knows what it wants to feel. Your heart is the seat of your courage. I say it's the guiding light for creating your reality, not your mind. I am a lover of Dr. Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton. So a little sidebar here. I love studying energy. Remember, I saw magnets, you all, back in the day, and so I understand magnetic frequency and the Earth's magnetic field and how that works. Science has shown us that the human heart here creates a powerful electrical charge that's 100 times stronger than any thought that comes from the human brain. And this is important because we all know that when we get to thinking, that our brains, and this has been scientifically proven, our brains emit electrical charges. Every thought, I think Candace Perk, every thought carries an electrical and a magnetic and a chemical and an emotional component that gets lodged into our physiology. So we think the way we feel and we feel the way we think. And that's why we keep creating in the land of the familiar, you all. That's how we create our reality. In contrast, the electrical charges that are coming from our hearts, that focus on essence, these are the charges that can overpower any thinking that we're doing. And this is a good thing. We want our hearts to lead, not our minds. We say that all the time, right? Particularly now that we know that the language of our hearts is essence and that this is how we talk to spirit. It up levels itself from there. In addition to us having an electrical charge, the heart also creates a magnetic field that is 5,000 times stronger than what comes from the human brain. This is huge, particularly in this BG5 world that we live in, that we talk about, because we're surrounded in a world by magnetic and electrical fields. Like I said, I talked about it with Niken. We talked about it when we looked at that underlying frequency that's in the transart entities that we study in BG5. They all have this underlying invisible electrical and magnetic mechanism that is attracting, and it's either homogenizing and conditioning us. Our job is to become present to the mechanics of how our hearts work, how our hearts speak to us, how our forms operate, and how we interact with this invisible field that we swim in, right? We can focus on essence, we can invest our feelings and our emotions and our thoughts in everything that you saw on that slide: gratitude, compassion, appreciation, abundance, healing. You know, I'm going to ask you what yours are in a minute, Latia. Again, mine are freedom and fun and spiritual community. These elevate our frequencies. And as we do this, we create this electrical and this magnetic pattern that's emanating from our hearts. It's going out into the world. And in the process, remember, like attracts like. This is how we attract our fractals, because like attracts like. And we are connecting to this field around us, integrating with this field around us, and getting to up level our frequencies within us and around us. I love to say we get to be the change in the world. We get to be the change that we want to see in the world. And so I had to share that with y'all. So step one, backing up, state your desire for essence. Simple. Step one. Step two, find a way every day to invest your time and your talents and your energies into a form, some form, where you are gleaning the experience of this essence. You're going to immerse your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions into these essence experiences that, again, are elevating your frequency, creating this high vibe kind of frequency that's going to attract those forms that you desired or something greater to you. Because we all know, y'all, what we think about, we bring about. What we focus on expands. You know, our vibrational set point is going to attract like energies to it that are then going to coalesce into forms far beyond anything that we can think of. I did not ask for the BG5 world to come to me. I just knew I was ready to expand my spiritual community, my way of connecting, and my way of contributing. And good God, to do it with a sense of freedom and fun. And so we want to make sure that we are focusing on our essence words and our essence experiences, because when we're not, we're thinking. Thinking, as Spotted Eagle says, limits your possibilities. It has never made you feel safer, controlled your future, or prevented reject. Thinking puts you in a narrative, y'all, where your head is down and the blinders are on. And again, essence couldn't come to you, and if it did, you wouldn't see it because you're too busy thinking. Awareness is your gift. It's your ticket out of fear. Every time you use your awareness to identify that you are thinking, that's when you get your power back. So it's that simple. You know, can't help to say the B word. I'm a simple individual. From this day forward, please know you don't have to do anything. Remember, you don't have to believe anything. You don't need to be saved. You don't need to save the world. The world does not need to be saved by you, for God's sakes. All that is required of you is for you to be in the now and focus on being in the flow and having essence experiences that blow your socks off, or in the South we say blow your skirt up, right? This is the power that comes with being in the flow of essence. And so, final slide almost. You now have a new paradigm for being your design. Remember, we talked about the neediness, the paradigm of neediness, where we're doing what we think we need to do. I really do think some of us, I think, funny, some of us get caught in our designs and we're so busy talking traits and strengths and that we're not even open to being ourselves and allowing stuff to come to us. So the new paradigm says be who you authentically are, be your design, be the essence of who you are so that you naturally attract the forms where you can then do what your gifts, your natural gifts inspire you to do. Only then will you attract the high vibe energies that can coalesce around forms that you're asking for or forms greater than anything that your tiny little petty tyrant of a mind could ever fathom, because that is going to take you from looking like this to living like this, where your arms are spread wide and you are flying in the freedom and living an essence filled life. Any questions, Latia, or anything you want to share about your newly found essence words and how this might be working for you?
Well,
I've
first,
talked.
let me say I'm like a student today because when you broke it down to me over the weekend, the difference between essence and form, I
Mhm.
realized I've been living in form. You know, you're chasing the job, the money, the partner. But when you really honed on to the essence, that was really an aha moment. And when you're living in your essence, that's when you attract the form. So I'm gonna practice this myself. I think I dumbed it down to 7 words from the 13. So mine's would be integrity, freedom, passion, service, prosperity and abundance. I'll put that in the same category. Creativity, that's huge for me, and adventure. So I would say those are my essence words.
Yeah, and I know we were talking about you this weekend, and looking at your forms, and we even, without even knowing what your words were, as we were asking, what is the essence that you experience of Latia? Some of those same words came up. For me, it was creativity and integrity.
Mm-hmm.
For the other individual, it was passion.
Mm-hmm.
Service is a huge part of your design as well. Integrity is a huge part of your design. So I get excited when we work with individuals with these designs, Latia, because for the most part, we're already living the essence of our designs. It's just we haven't given ourselves full permission because
Exactly.
they told us to do something else.
Right. And we're not focused on the essence. I mean, I would say most of the word is focused on the material things, the form. But
Mhm.
when we live from our essence, as you just stated, I was taking a lot of notes as you were talking, we'll attract the form. We'll attract whatever that we need in our lives to be successful, to feel satisfied. So this is, I can't wait to really start living with my essence words so I can start attracting more, what I want, more flow, more ease, more just joy, just overall joy and not, and I'm a thinker. So when you were talking about thinking, that was another aha. I feel like I overthink, even with the job process. I was like, oh, I'm not going to have health benefits. What if I run out of money? So I start playing these mind games with myself, and then it creates mental anxiety. Until I'm just like, you know what? Just surrender, jump out on faith, and it'll work itself out. So that's what I just did.
Yeah. The as within, so without picture, the illustration back there. That's, it's a concept that we're not taught, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we're just not taught that the way I hold my energy, the way that I think. So I am really jetting, justifying everything I do, explaining myself, defending.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
If I am in a narrative, Spotted Eagle, those Indians were so smart. Simplicity of what they taught was if I'm in a narrative or a storyline in my head versus just with my mouth freaking shut, present to what is, I've shut the door.
Right.
Creator. In the money course, I remember step number one of how to create joyful money. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about the money.
I know, right?
It has everything to do with our issues and what we have lodged in our physiology. Years ago, Latia, I would wake up in the middle of the night. I think I shared this with you, in an absolute state of survival and fear that I was going to run out of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I simply said, this is your body. This is the physiology. Just be with it. Know it's there. Identification is so key originally, right?
Right.
Over time, as I didn't buy into it and, you know, tense it up or deny it or bury it, it
Mm-hmm.
eventually it eventually dissipated. And they told me that. They said, your issues are like a styrofoam wall, Tuck. And you
Mm.
keep doing your work, the wall's going to come down. And I think all of us as consultants, we want people to be living, do we not?
We do.
Essence and simplicity and flow. And a key piece of that is
Mm-hmm.
living the essence of our design. And of course, decision making strategy to me is
That's
key.
huge. Yeah, that's huge. I
Mhm.
agree. Mm-hmm.
That's all we ever did.
Yeah.
So, do we have any questions? Does Sarah have anything she wants to say?
Sarah says she's good.
Right. No questions. I hope y'all have enjoyed. I am going to do a little advertising very quickly here. I did want to include again in the PowerPoint this week in our podcast the reminder of the foundation course up and coming in June. Again, this is where you learn about the specificity of your design so that you can be it freely. And as I said a minute ago, I think so many of us, I know I discover we're already living aspects of our design. We just haven't given ourselves full permission to express it. So there's a semester one and semester two with that. And then in January of next year, we start the certification courses all over again. So I don't know if there's anything you want to say about that process for you, because you really are doing big things right now, Latia, and looking to do even bigger things.
I would say the process is similar to you. I fell into human design first and then gene keys, and I wanted something more practical, which is how I got to BG5. Maybe it's the project manager side of me. I love finding solutions to problems. And BG5 is just that. We look at somebody's body graph and design, they come to us with problems, and we can spot those solutions very quickly. So the process for me was very simple. I tried the foundations course just to make sure it was something I wanted to invest in. I loved it. And then that's when I went to semester one, semester two, semester three with the certification, because I really wanted to share the language, the content with everybody I know. I mean, I've been talking about it since I found out about BG5. I've been going down rabbit holes. So I just genuinely want to get that information out to the world. And I feel like if we're all living by design, it would be, a better world, a better place.
Other thing that you're doing that I think is so key is that you are now working with a lot of young individuals
Hmm.
where we're getting them at a younger age, 0 to 7, what, 7 to 14, where rather than shoving information, you're able to draw that out.
Exactly. And that's actually a dream of mine. So I feel like if we're raising kids from early on to live their design, to be able to advocate for themselves, they will
Mm,
grow up into whole adults. So
yep.
getting into the school systems, I'm trying to figure that out. How can I get into the school system? I just had a consultant session with a 17-year-old last week. I'm having another consultant session where I'm going through her entire BG5 design with a 19-year-old. So somehow I am attracting young people, which I'm really enjoying. And I'm finding out that they're living, the one I spoke with last week, she's already living by design. And I
See?
was like, just if I knew this information at her age, I would be so much further along. So that really made me excited and proud that, you know, the young people, they're living by design. They just need that push, they need that confirmation that they're doing the right thing because society, their friends, their parents will tell them opposite. Like you said, that you need to go get a job, you need to you know, go after the stable life versus just live your essence, just live your authentic self. So,
Think I was telling you, my daughter in the business that she owns with her dance center, she has
hmm
choreographers come in, and I've done some work with them. And it's so interesting to be able to share this with a creative because they really are already in tune with their creativity, but again, have been told, you know, this is not something, but when they hear about themselves and then they're able to take that to their students, the trickle down effect, I think, is really, really huge.
yeah, I agree.
So hopefully you all will let us know if there is any specific arena or area that you would like for Latia and I to bring to the podcast. I know my next passion, because a big word of mine, is purpose and how finding purpose ties into our BG5 designs. I know Latia is going to bring some of the guests that she's worked with, specifically these youth, if they're open to it,
hmm
so that you can hear from the individuals that have been able to receive this information and utilize it to up level their awareness and elevate their frequency and expand their uh yeah, awareness and
Yeah.
frequency. All right. Sarah really has, she's good. She wants to stay quiet.
Yeah, she's good.
Okay, I'll say goodbye, and then Latia can say goodbye.
Thank you all for coming. So we'll see you next month for the next episode.